obviously the whole idea about whether we should or shouldn't wear masks was kind of a raging debate way before we actually started wearing masks, and I'd kept abreast of the news, and I'd actually read a story about in the Czech Republic how volunteer sowers had hung masks on trees in their front gardens just so passers-by could already take them. And I was already giving out masks to people for free in my community that wanted them. But there was like this raging debate where people were saying, well, you know, masks they're not mandated and they're not recommended and they're not advised and you shouldn't be doing this. So, you know, it was quite controversial. But I think by the time that the regulations changed and they did make mask wearing mandatory on public transport, I think it was at first, by then I was raring to go, and I thought, I'm having a mask tree. I don't even have a tree in my garden, but I'm having a mask tree. And so I was a bit creative and got a hat stand and hung masks on a hat stand in my front drive, and I'm on quite a good route in town where lots of passers-by, and it just became known and it got picked up by local radio, and I went, yeah, okay, you can come out and have a look what I'm doing, it's no problem. I didn't really think too much of it. But things just kind of snowballed. And even in my local area, I'd done a little bit of sewing scrubs and things, but actually others that I'd been in contact in my local area sewing scrubs and things, they all then had mask trees. And I think within 10 days of me putting my mask tree out, there was actually about 9 or 10 mask trees just in the Salisbury area. And again, then local TV picked this up, and I just thought, this is getting crazy. You know, I've never done anything like that before, really. And once it had been on local TV, I then had complete strangers contacting me on Facebook from up and down the country, wanting to know how I did it, what I'm doing, etc., etc. And so I just shared what I was doing. But then I had lots of people contacting me saying, well, where's my nearest mask tree? And I was like, well, where are you? I don't know. And so we set up this interactive map where those who wanted to could register their mask trees, and then it would be put on the map. And that meant that people in those local vicinities could find out where their nearest mask trees were. And then at the height of it, really, we had over 400 mask trees all across the UK, you know, right up to Scotland, all the way right down to the south of England. I have become known as, oh, you're the mask lady, and my family are a bit like, oh my God, you're that crazy mask lady. And even now I get people, oh, you're the mask lady. And so it's a bit of a label I think it's going to take a while to shake off. But to be honest, there were just queues every day. That tree was stripped. It didn't matter if I put on 40 or 50 masks at 9 o'clock in the morning. It was stripped bare by 9:30 that morning. Every day there were queues of people there, and I think at first it was just bizarre looking out the window thinking, oh my God, all these people queuing up outside our house. It was ever so strange. It definitely did bring the community together, and I do say to people, it doesn't feel like what I did was selfless in any way, because I actually really enjoyed that time. And it's awful, it's a horrible time in our lives, you know, the pandemic and the impact it had on people, but actually there was a real positive side to it for me. And the thing that was positive was that connection with others. I met people I've never met in my community. I've become known in my community. I was able to play a really meaningful and valuable role, and I was able to help others play a meaningful and valuable role. You know, I had people who don't sew but wanted to get involved, and they did all the cutting, and that just saved a fortune. And then I had other people that were walking the length and breadth of our town and our village, distributing materials and getting things from A to B and so on. So people just came out of the woodwork and wanted to help and have a way to play that meaningful role. And I think when you're listening to the news every night and it was doom and gloom, actually to see in your own community all this goodwill and what people could achieve when they come together, that was inspiring. And to see that up and down the country was just amazing. When we look at the disaster that we were facing, the pandemic, look at the difference we made as sewers, but look at the difference that was made just throwing the resources at the problem. We've got a vaccine, we've solved so much, and it just does give you that hope of what we can achieve when we put our minds together and we do work collaboratively. And that's been the biggest lesson learned for this. We work well together, as communities and on a larger level. And I think if we can apply what we've learned going forward to things like, the environmental issues and being more sustainable, if we can apply some of our learning and work collectively on issues like that, what could we achieve with the next crisis? With masks, one of my main drives was that nobody should be disadvantaged because of money. So that's why my masks were available for free to everyone. You could leave a donation if you wanted, just to help us with the costs, but it was always a not-for-profit idea, and so the proceeds, anything extra, went to charities. And I just think if we could do a similar thing, making more sort of upcycled, recycled products and making them available to people for free, similar type of model, I just think, you're removing some of the barriers to people engaging in activities that are more environmentally sustainable. For me, like I say, it's actually been a really rewarding time. I had a period of really poor health before the pandemic, and so when it first hit, I wasn't able to go out and about because we just didn't know how much it might or might not affect me. And I think for me, normally I would have been the sort that would have wanted to go out and help others and go and fetch shopping and things like that, and I just couldn't. So, as I say, it really just gave me a way of feeling valued, feeling like I could help others, and something that was within my power. I wasn't a brilliant sewer, I can't say it was my main skill at all in crafting, but I could make a mask, that's fine, I could manage that. And so for me it was just so rewarding, and I think emotionally this gave me the strength to get through. You could get so bogged down in the negative news and just the sheer concern of the impact of the pandemic and how all the sad news every day.